And welcome to Blazer Stadium in Silver Spring, Maryland. This is Greg Fallon here to call the Boston Whitecaps visiting the Washington, D.C. Current, who you can see are sporting their college jerseys in the pregame tonight. A nice little thing to honor their college traditions. And we've got two teams in very different positions. Boston has basically sealed up well, not basically, they have sealed up the number one spot in the Eastern Conference. They're going to the playoffs. But very interesting after that, the three other teams in the Eastern Conference, Philadelphia Spinners, New York Rumble, and the DC Current, all sitting with 2 wins and between three or four games left to play each. Standings are going to get very, very interesting very quickly here at the end of the season as the playoff push begins. DC, a lot of people counted them out of it a couple of weeks ago, but with a win last week over Philadelphia, they have climbed right back into what is effectively a 3-way tie for second place in the Eastern Conference. Last time Boston was down here, DC gave them their toughest test of the season, a 1-goal win for the Boston Whitecaps in Week 2. Since then, they have been tearing through the league, not even playing any close games at all, leading the league in goal differential, I believe. And this DC Current team has been up and down, to say the least, this season. Great performance last week against Philadelphia. But really needing a win here to... We're not needing a win, but a win certainly helps their playoff chances. Both teams set to take the field now. You can see the DC Current in white jerseys, the Boston Whitecaps in their road black. DC will be pulling to Boston from right to left to start the game. This promises to be an entertaining game, as DC is the only team to really give Boston a challenge this year. A lot of people believe they should have won that game. Their defensive line actually scored more points than Boston's defensive line did. DC was just unable to convert those possessions at the end of the quarters and ended up losing by 1 goal in really one of the more entertaining games that we've seen in this first MLU season. A couple key players back this week for DC, namely Tom Doy, who is a very effective cutter on their offensive line. We look to see a lot of him today. Boston looking just as healthy as they have been all year. A lot of names on the injury report this week, but I see everybody out there looking ready to go. For Boston, it looks like we have Brian Zidd, Brent Anderson, Alex Cooper, Peter Pryl, Jeff Graham, Brandon Malachek, and Josh Marquette. And on defense for DC, we have Eric Salmi, Ryan Todd, looks like we have Dan Cantor, Matt Gordon, Brian Marshall, and Jonathan Neely, who round out the 7 for DC. And David Cranston, I'm sorry. Now here's Malachek to put it up already. He's got Marquette. He's got a few steps on Todd. Disc is going to float, and Marquette is going to get there, but he's not in. He's got to take it back out. Marquette looking for someone. He's got Pryl, and that is about as easy as it gets for the Boston Whitecaps. 2 throws, 1 goal, 9:42 left in the first quarter, 1-0 Boston Whitecaps. All right, Boston set to pull. Back to DC, who will get their first offensive possession of the game. The heat tonight, look for that to be a factor. It is a scorcher out there. I believe 91 degrees was the count that I heard. We'll see if exhaustion becomes a factor as this game goes on and who that favors. It's going to be, it's like Ong to bring it down. Centers to Kolick, the linchpin of this offense, the key player for the Washington, D.C. Current. We're seeing a zone defense from Boston. Here's Ong to Keegan. Boston transitioning to man. Keegan finds Bellinger in the middle of the field. There's Doy open underneath. Nice throw from Bellinger, but Doy can't quite reel it in. Those are turnovers that DC cannot have if they want to beat Boston. Here's Taylor looking for someone. This is hanging. Oh, and Doy makes an effort, but it's brought down by Boston. On with the defense to Taylor. Kolick guarding. Taylor looking for someone upfield. Oh, he's got nobody. Difficult throw. Nobody really there.
It's a little windy early.
Stall count probably getting up. That's a turnover. Any way you slice it for Boston. Now Alan Kolick slowly going to pick up the disc. DC got lucky on that one. They need to get this point to stay on serve with this powerful Boston Whitecaps team. Moving the pylon out of the way. Here he goes under to Keegan. Keegan looking towards Wodach, and that's a connection that we like to see. Wodach trying to run it down. He's got someone on his heels. Oh! Jack Hatchett with the defense on Wodach. It's a beautiful throw from Keegan, but floated just a little bit too long and allowed Hatchett to catch up to Wodach and get a D, and now Boston's D-line with a chance to get another point or get their first break of the game, actually. Here's Taylor going to pick the disc up. He's going to be guarded by Kolick. Vertical stack in the middle of the field. No other handlers back. Looks like Myers cutting. Oh, no, it's Hirschberger. Two guys on him. It's Wodach and Keegan. That doesn't bode well for Hirschberger. Two of DC's better players on either side of you with a disc that floats a little bit. Not a great decision by Taylor, I don't think. Great defense from the DC Current. And we'll see Kolick go to pick the disc up again. That's going to be a common theme today. He touches the disc a lot. And we say it every week about how good Kolick is and how important he is, and that's because you can't understate it. He has been so good for them this year. And look here, he's looking to break over to Bellinger. Bellinger had Keegan, but he decided to put it to Wodach. Wodach finding Doy. Now Keegan gets the disc, and now he's looking deep again. That's DC's game, putting the disc up and trying to strike early. Here's Ong. How do you leave Jeff Wodach that open? Is he going to get there, though? Oh, what a grab by Wodach! That's what DC needed. Wow! Jeff Wodach with the grab. Ong just floated it up there, and I don't know how you leave Jeff Wodach that open twice, but this time no one was going to get to him, and he comes down with an amazing layout grab in the end zone. 1-1, 6:57 left in the first quarter. Here's the DC D-line back on the field. Brian Marshall to pull. They could really use a break, but they got a huge lift from Jeff Wodach just a second ago on that amazing layout grab. This is a short pull from Marshall. Going to settle in around the 30-yard line to be pulled in by Cooper. Oh, no, that's Graham. Sporting a headband tonight. Looking a little bit like the other two handlers on that line. Here's that's Zid. Oh, a nice grab by Jeff Graham, who gets shoved by Neely. That's an easy foul call. It'll be 10 yards for Jeff Graham. Here's Cooper going up line, not open. Now Marquette, who's been an excellent player for Boston this year. Malachek hanging it up there. Cobb on the... Oh, what a D by Chip Cobb! Cobb just got up and knocked the disc away from Brian Zid. Malachek tried to float it up there thinking that Zid had a better matchup, but Cobb says no. Now Neely centering to Cantor. Cantor to Cranston. Cranston over to Neely. They gained about 1 yard on those three throws combined, and now Cantor with the disc in the middle of the field. I'm sorry, that's Salmi. Or Boye. It's Boye. Over to Cantor. Cantor's looking around. He's got Neely. They're losing a lot of yards to this Boston zone. David Boye. Back to Neely. Over to Cantor. Patience from the DC Current right now. Impressive given their track record of aggressive style of offense. Boston playing excellent defense, keeping the disc in the back of the end zone now, looking for that Callahan. This is a tough spot for DC. Oh, and we get a drop. That's unfortunate. That's great defense from Boston to force so many throws in the end zone that they're going to get the disc right on the goal line.
Boston starting on their own goal line.
I believe that's Marquette to pick it up. Going to take it from the goal line. Looking for Pryl, and he's got Peter Pryl, who's got his second goal in the day. 2-1, Boston Whitecaps. 4:56 remaining in the first quarter. Boston D-line now on the field. Mike Miller to pull the disc. DC's got that vaunted O-line of theirs on the field with Ong, Kolick, Keegan, Bellinger. For Boston, we see Terry Roth, Jonathan Hirschberger, and their defensive crew trying to get them the first break of this game. So far on serve here in the first quarter. Now here's Kolick doing what he does best, moving around the field like a cutter, except he's got the throws of a handler. Finds Keegan, who also has a similar skill set. Kolik's so quick up the line, but he doesn't get that one. Now Ong, who's had a terrific year for the DC Current. Here's Kevin Moldenauer. Under to, that's Bellinger. Bellinger under to Kolik. Kolik looking for something to get off that line. He finds Ong, but that hangs a bit, and Ong makes a nice play on the disc. Finds Bellinger. He's got Keegan open, but oh, that's a great throw from Bellinger to find Keegan. Keegan had a defender on his back, and that was a strange angle for the throw, but impressive. There's Moldenauer to Kolik. Kolik 2 yards out, and he gets it into Keegan for the goal. 2-2 DC Current, 4:06 remaining in the first quarter. There's Kolik just doing what he does best, moving all over the field, controlling the pace, controlling the disc, and he finds Keegan, who has had a very nice game so far, in the end zone for the goal. Markham Schaffner with the disc, number 90, ready to pull. He has also had an excellent season. He's got 20 points for this current team. That's third on the team behind Keegan and Kolik. That's two pretty good names to be behind. But this pull is going to sail out of bounds. Schaffner has huge throws. From a standstill, he may have the longest throw in the league. Extremely powerful handler. Here's Malachek to bring the disc in. Going to be guarded by Cantor. Malachek also known for his huge throws, and he's going to probably look for one here, but instead he takes the under to Zid. I think they might have gotten tipped. Here's Marquette looking at Pryal. Not going to throw it to him. Good mark by Ryan Todd. Cooper looking. He's got nothing right now. Stall count's getting high. And finds Marquette finally. Guarded by Todd. Faking around. Now they backtrack to the 45-yard line. That's Graham, guarded by Neely. Now finds Marquette. Defense from DC, very good right now. But they give one up under to Pryal there. Boston trying to force those break side cuts. DC's not going to give up those breaks as easily as Boston wants them. That's why the stagnant offense right now. But there they go. Just as I say it's stagnant, they get it out, and that's Malachek to Zid for the Boston goal. Still unserved, 3-2, 3:11 left in the first quarter. Boston Whitecaps lead.
Hirschberger set to pull again for Boston.
Jonathan Hirschberger set to pull for the Whitecaps. DC offense going to get the disc back here. We'll see if they continue this very impressive style of play that they have developed over the last week. Well, really just last week. They've calmed their offense down. They're still taking impressive deep shots and completing them, but they're doing it in a more responsible, more patient manner, which has thus far yielded great results for them as they've gotten a win over the Philadelphia Spinners. And there's a great break from Calvin Ong to Tom Doy. The jailbreak is on now. Kolik looking for Dulabon. He's going to put it, and that's going to be a little too blady. It looked like he hesitated just a bit, and that threw his throw off as he had Dulabon wide open. Looked like he was beating Matt Heath deep. But for whatever reason, he got a weird angle on the throw, and it just sails into the ground. Now here's Boston's D trying to get that first break. Hirschberger going to put it up. That's Sean Doherty. But Jeff... Oh! Sean Doherty over Jeff Wodach. He's going to find Terry Roth, and let's see if he backflips. Here he goes. Terry Roth with the backflip for the first break of the game. 4-2 Boston Whitecaps, 2:23 remaining. DC set to receive with their O-line out there. Very important point for DC. You can't let Boston get two breaks in a row, and you've got to get that break back. Here's Moldenauer to bring it down. Centering to Kolik, who a little higher up than Kolik wanted it. Here's Wodach putting it deep for Dulabon. Let's see if Dulabon can beat Doherty here, and Doherty's going to get this one. Very important for DC to get this one back, and they're going to get a gift from Boston as Hirschberger throws it away.
Lucky break for DC is
Kolik going to walk up slowly to the disc. They need this point. 20 yards out of the end zone. Vertical stack. Break to Moldenauer. Moldenauer to Wodach. Wodach looking for something. He's got no mark. And, ooh, dangerous throw to Kevin Moldenauer, but he brings it in. Moldenauer looking for Bobby Gordon. Bobby Gordon's got Kolik, and that's a goal. Alan Kolik doing his thing, bringing DC back to within one goal, 3-4, minute 42 remaining in the first quarter. Here's the DC defense again. Schaffner with
Bobby
the
down for
disc
that
to
last
pull.
DC goal as DC pulls
They
from
need
the
this
block.
break to get back on serve and put pressure back on this Whitecaps team. When you let the Boston Whitecaps get a lead, they tend to extend that lead, and they tend to just run you into the ground with patient, smart, and just really very excellent ultimate. And here's Malachek looking to start some of that offense. Finds Brent Anderson underneath, number 2. Now to Graham, who has been the superstar of the Eastern Conference this year. Graham to Pryal. Pryal looking around, trying to find someone. He's got Anderson underneath. Anderson puts a backhand out to Malachek, who's got a ton of room, and that's a goal for the Boston Whitecaps. DC's not going to get that break back yet. They need to stay with their offense and get another shot to get a break. Here's the Boston D-line. Hirschberger set to pull. Disc is up. Ong's going to bring it in around the 20-yard line. Ong centers to Kolek. Back to Ong. Calvin Ong going to go upline to Alan Kolek, who is virtually unguardable when he does that, and that's a nifty break backhand to Tom Doy. Ong now under to Kolek. When Kolek gets downfield, he is deadly. And there's Sean McComb, the nice break to Tom Doy. Doy under to Wodach, who makes a sliding grab. Now around to Gordon. Oh! Gordon throws it to Keegan, who is almost D'd up by Jake Taylor, but he's going to get 10 yards on a foul call even after he brings the disc in. Seems to be a little confusion as to the call. Well, they're not going to call a foul. They're just going to... I believe they were calling a foul if Keegan did not catch the disc, and now Keegan floats one out for Sean McComb. That's a huge break. Now to Kolek. Gets it with his fingertips there. Kolek to Ong. Keegan trying to get open on the sideline. He's going to get a disc space violation on Jonathan Hirschberger. Ong's going to get 10 yards and a fresh stall count. Ong over to Kolek. Oh, Kolek wanted a break cut from Doy, but Doy hesitated just a bit. Now back to Ong. Ong up to... Ooh, Bobby Gordon. Nice grab. Gordon's looking, finds Kolek. Kolek's got Doy. Nifty throw, but he puts it too high, and Wodach trying to come in and make another amazing grab, but he's not going to get it. And that's the end of the first quarter here in Silver Spring. We're back here with the second quarter. 5-3, Boston Whitecaps.
And fans, if you feeling a little bit munchy, they have snacks back at the concession stand. Please feel free to take a stroll back and see if you'd like something back there.
Now here's Kolek. Kolek to McComb. McComb to Kolek, who loves that upline cut. Now to McComb again. McComb across to Ong. Ong to Gordon. Finds Keegan. Keegan looking deep, but he's going to dump it to McComb instead. McComb over to Ong. Ong finds Bellinger. Bellinger's on the sideline, on the trap side. Wants to get it over he breaks it to Bobby Gordon. Now to Kolek. Kolek to Bellinger. To Keegan. Finds Ong with a nifty inside-out backhand. What a throw from Keegan. Just past the diving Terry Roth. DC pulling back to Boston. That's, I believe that was Keegan who pulled that disc. Keegan doing double duty right now, playing on the offensive and defensive lines. There's Malachek in his trademark blue cleats, black headband, and sunglasses, putting up a hammer to a wide-open Peter Pryal. Looks like DC was trying some kind of a zone, but that did not work very well. And now they've got Graham, who's going to run it down in the end zone for his first goal of the day. Jeff Graham puts Boston back up 6-4, 8:54 remaining in the second quarter. And here's Boston with their D-line back on the field, looking to get another break. If Boston is able to get another break or two, look for them to go on a run and take control of this game. That's their MO, just to run teams into the ground and not look back. It's very difficult to come back against a team like Boston. DC has to be very careful not to dig themselves a hole here, or they'll find themselves out of this game very quickly. And here's Kolek with the disc, finding Wodach, finds Bellinger, who puts it up to Gordon, who tiptoes near the line and gets that disc. Now he's got a little crowding over on the sideline, but he finds Kolek, back to Ong. Ong with the disc in the center of the field, surveying, back to Kolek. Losing some yards here, but that's okay. Oh, and Gordon can't reel in that throw from Kolek. Just came in a little too inside. Couldn't pick it with the left hand. And here's Misha Horowitz set to pick up the disc for Boston. Look for Boston to try to score quickly and take control of this game. Oh, Kolek with a little bit of an aggressive play. It's going to cost him 10 yards.
And the refs do have a whistle. Spot foul on Kolek.
Now the disc is up to Hirschberger, and that's a goal for Boston. Boston now up 2 breaks. They're up 7-4, 7:49 remaining in the second quarter. Each team in this Eastern Conference has 1 game remaining against the Boston Whitecaps. And while they don't need to win any of them to make their playoff push, if you get one, it's going to help you out quite a bit. Right now, Boston's sitting at a very, very nice 7-0, yet to be beaten by anyone in the MLU. DC came the closest, so any win you can get against this team, it's not going to get you any closer to first place, but it might help you down the road when the standings are settled. Having a win against the best team in your conference, and even if it doesn't help you, it's also a very nice confidence booster going into the playoff match against this team if you are to make it into the conference championship game here in the East.
Go DC, go DC, go!
DC crowd waiting for its team to show some signs of life here. Getting a side stack, an interesting call here. Now under to Keegan, this has got to be a design play. Keegan was looking for Dulabon. He's going to get a foul call on Jake Taylor. Keegan gets 10 yards and a fresh count, and now we're seeing a more horizontal stack, and Keegan puts it up for Wodach. Wodach with another goal! Fantastic throw, fantastic grab. Washington, D.C. Current get back to 2 down, 7-5, 7:32 left in the second quarter. Calvin Ong, interestingly, still out on the field for D.C. on this defensive point. They seem to be doing that, as we saw Keegan on the last point. And Ong pulls this disc, and it's going to float in around the 20, 25, picked up by Cooper. Cooper looking under to Zid. Zid's got Pryl, who's been a monster the last 4 or 5 weeks. Pryl to Anderson, guarded by Boyea. Anderson under to Marquette. Hard guy to stay with, Josh Marquette. And this disc is up to Pryl in the end zone. Cranston can't get there. Pryl's got his 3rd goal today. Beautiful throw. Beautiful play by Boston. And that's how they beat you. Very fast, very efficient. 8-5 Boston Whitecaps. 7 minutes, 8 seconds left in the second quarter. Now here's the pull from Hirschberger. This is a nice one. Looks like it's going to nestle in around the 15-yard line. Can be caught by McComb. That's an excellent pull. Centered to Kolek. Back to McComb. Keegan is open underneath, and that's a great throw from McComb. Keegan's looking at Dulabon, but he's going to swing it back to McComb instead. And now Kolek. Kolek's got Bellinger under. DC does that very well. They send their handlers downfield, and their handlers get open on in-cuts. And here's Moldenhauer. Moldenhauer floats it up for Kolek, who's got a guy chasing, but he's got the disc, and now he's going to put it up to Keegan. And there's another excellent play from Alan Kolek, finding Keegan in the end zone. 8-6, Boston leads. DC trying to crawl back into it. 6:37 left in the second quarter. Here's Schaffner to pull his last pull. Landed out of bounds, but this one going to float up That's a nice hanging pull. DC's defense literally looking to get down there. Here's Cantor chasing it. They're going to get the disc at about the 21-yard line. It's going to be picked up by Cooper. Or is that That's Malachek, who has ditched the sunglasses for now. That's Marquette with a nice scoober over to Zid. Zid looking back to the middle, and he's got Cooper. Cranston catching up, and now Graham. Graham puts it up. He's got Zid, and there's no one around him. Zid's going to take this easily. Schaffner closed at the end, but Zid had about 20 yards to himself. Here's Miller to pull for Boston. Going to be fielded by Moldenhauer at the 15 to Kolick to McComb. Keegan doing a very good job getting open downfield, but a little too late for McComb. There's Moldenhauer on the sideline. Kolick burns his guy over to the sideline. That's Robin Myers he just beat over there. Now Moldenhauer. DC working the disc up the line now. Ooh. That is a very... Oh, what a grab by Dulaban, but he is out. That was a very difficult throw put up by Moldenhauer. And an impressive effort from Rob Dulaban, but just not enough room along the sideline for him to bring that in. Dangerous time now for DC. You don't want to go down 3 breaks. And here's Casey Turp with the disc on the sideline. Just came back from a injured shoulder, and now Boston is going to take a timeout. Now here's Malachek to bring the disc back in. A little premature cutting from Jeff Graham. A little excited to be out there. And Malachek going to be guarded by Cantor. Look for Malachek to put this disc up early. Out of the timeout, I'm sure there's a play that Jason Adams has set up for his team. We've got Cooper in the backfield as the dump. Graham just really making sure Jeff Wodach on his toes. Graham has had about 3 or 4 fake cuts before a disc has come in. And now Pryl is the guy who goes deep. Guarded by Marshall. This disc is going to float. Marshall with a chance, and it's just misread by Pryl. Mistimed his jump, and DC's going to get the disc back. Unfortunate play coming out of the timeout, and now DC takes a timeout. See if they fare better coming out of this than Boston just did.
All right, here we go. DC's offense is now back in the game.
Now Kolick going to bring the disc back in. Boston defense on the field and the DC offense. We're seeing that side stack again here. Keegan getting ready to cut. Not sure if that is also a distraction as Graham's premature cutting just appeared to be. And here's Ong with a very nice throw up to Kolick. Kolick's got Schaffner underneath. Oh, Schaffner almost drops that one, but he's able to recover. Kolick flicks it over to Ong. Ong to Gordon, who can't bring this one in. A couple rough throws going Bobby Gordon's way. Doing it, just not able to bring them in. Here's Boston. Oh, Keegan with it. Keegan's going to get called for a foul there on Hirschberger. Hirschberger bringing the disc back in, and now he's got a wide open Eric Stevens for the goal. Hirschberger set to pull after throwing that brilliant goal for Boston. Pulls have been excellent today. This one the same, going to make it almost all the way to the end zone. Fielded by Moldenhauer up to Kolick. Head of the 20. Kolick, nice break to Ryan Todd. Todd up to Dulaban. Dulaban floats one out for Moldenhauer. Had power position, but no one open deep. Moldenhauer drops it back to Schaffner. Schaffner over to Bellinger. Bellinger has Dulaban open underneath. Dulaban to Wodach, and there's another one for Jeff Wodach. 10-7 Boston. DC still trying to get back in the game. Their defense has to do it. Their offense is taking care of business this time. Calvin Ong set to pull for the DC defense. 0 breaks so far. They're looking for their first. That's a great pull from Ong. Cooper up to Malachek. Malachek looking around. Puts it under to Marquette, one of his favorite targets. And now Zid is going deep. Nicely guarded by Salmi. Salmi over to, Marquette over to Graham. Guarded by Neely. Oh, nifty break by Jeff Graham. Finds Malachek. Oh, what a D from Dan Cantor! sticks his whole body in front of the Brandon Malachek. Huh. That's got this crowd excited. What a play from Cantor.
No, thank you.
Wow. 1 second it looked like Malachek was putting it up, and the next second you look one way and the disc is down on the field. Cantor, full body. Now they're switching out the disc because that hit Cantor's chest so hard. Wow. The disc has actually been
Two things happened there. First,
tacoed.
we need a new frisbee.
The disc was warped by Cantor's chest.
Put back in there, hold on.
Wow.
Right now,
And now DC's going to take a timeout.
interview with some of the fans. Oh, it's number 9. Actually, no. It's better.
Now Keegan is going to pick up the disc coming out of the timeout. Cantor is still on the field, showing his warrior spirit after that amazing D with his chest. DC Current showing some flexibility in their lines, making the point that they are in this game to win it. They are throwing everything they have at Boston, and getting a break here would do a lot to get them back in this game as we approach halftime with 3 minutes and 22 seconds remaining in the second quarter. And the disc is back in. Keegan breaks to it's Bellinger, guarded by number 24. And here's Kolick up to David Cranston, who makes a nice catch around Jack Hatchett on the sidelines. Kolick has Keegan up line. That's a really quick, nice throw from Kolick. Keegan around to Kolick, who's got Marshall all alone. Somebody's shoe has fallen off. That's Hirschberger. Cranston with the disc over on the sideline. Back to Kolick. That shoe just hanging around there. And here's Bellinger looking to break, but he's not going to take it. He's going to throw it back to Kolick instead. Up to Doy, to Kolick. Kolick looking for Cranston, and almost an amazing catch by David Cranston. But just a little too close to the sideline. He had to try to slide and get it. And it hopped off his hand and skipped out of bounds. Hirschberger is going to get to put his shoe back on now. We're going to take a couple seconds to allow him to do that. It's a timeout called by Boston. Malachek bringing the disc back in for Boston. Cantor is going to guard him up again, see if he can get another fantastic D. Instead, Malachek breaks to Cooper. Cooper right on the goal line, looking under to Marquette. Marquette looks under to Zid. Zid looking at his dump, but he's not going to... Oh, now he puts it to Graham. Graham hanging out just outside the end zone, and there's Cooper, who sends it for Zid. Gordon and Ong chasing. Zid's got a lot of room, but it's going to float up, and that's a great D by Gordon and Ong. Not sure which hand got it, but both were there. It's tough to catch a disc when you've got two defenders, one on either side of you. Now Ong with the disc to Cantor. Cantor over to Neely. He's got Wodach underneath. Wodach back to Neely. To Cantor to Ong. Gordon open underneath, but this Boston zone moving to cut that off. So far, DC has been unsuccessful against this zone defense. See if they can change that here. Ong puts it up to Marshall. Is that going to be too long? Yeah, I think it is. Boston almost wants DC to send it deep against this zone, and hoping they'll just put it a little too long. And here's Pryl. Anderson. Oh, Malachek making a deep cut. He usually makes the throws to the deep cuts. There he tried to get one himself. Pryl centering to Marquette. Marquette to Graham. Guarded by Marshall. Now Anderson. Now Anderson's going to send it for Zid. This one's also going to hang, but I don't think Matt Gordon's going to be able to get there. Zid about a yard outside the end zone. Flips to Pryl. Flips to Cooper, and that is a goal. Alex Cooper, Boston Whitecaps up 11-7 with 39 left in the first half. Boston pulling back to DC. Wasted opportunity for the Current there after an amazing D from Cantor, and you can't give Boston multiple chances to score. And that's exactly what DC did there. You have to punch those breaks in as soon as you have the opportunity. We got 30 seconds left here. Keegan with the disc in the backfield. Swings it over to Kolick. Kolick to Bellinger. Bellinger's looking to make up for that last throw
20 seconds remaining.
that he had to Cranston near the end zone that was not quite on target. Oh, what a D! Oh, and what a grab by Bellinger!
Maybe too patient.
To Kolick. 8 seconds for Kolick, who's going to put up a hammer to Schaffner. Schaffner's going to put it up. And he's going to throw an inside-out flick that's taken care of by the Whitecaps. Looked like he had a couple other guys open, but Schaffner just not on target with that last throw. Welcome back here for the third quarter at Blazer Stadium. Set to start the second half between the Washington, D.C. Current and the visiting Boston Whitecaps. Score is 11-7 Boston. I was speaking to Dan Cantor at halftime, and he told me that huge block he had on Brandon Malachek was not a chest block, but that indeed was all hand, which makes it even more impressive, the incredible marking skills of Dan Cantor. That he was able to create that aggressive of a D with just his hand. Just a truly remarkable defensive play, and unfortunate for the Current they were not able to convert on that and get that all-important break. And here we'll see DC pulling from right to left to Boston to start the third quarter. It'll be Calvin Ong with the disc. And it's up. Cooper going to field it in the very shallow in the end zone, and now here's throw up to Malachek. And here's Cantor again on Malachek. See if he can get another one, but he doesn't. He gets it up to Marquette. Marquette looking for Anderson, not going to throw it over to Graham, who's been pretty quiet today. Graham to Cooper. Cooper to Pryal, who was all over the field early. Now Pryal puts the disc up to Marquette. Is he going to get there? I think yes, he is. Beats Ryan Todd for the goal, and he tries to dunk it over the crossbar, but a little bit higher than he thought, and he wasn't able to even get close. Now Boston set to pull. That's Hirschberger. Another excellent pull from Hirschberger. Going to settle in by the goal line, be fielded by Brent Bellinger. Up to Alan Kolick. Over to McComb. Schaffner underneath. Schaffner sends it for Kolick. Kolick tracking, and he goes up and does he get it? Oh, the referee rolls it in. What a grab by Alan Kolick. Tipped by Taylor, smacked again by Kolick, and the diving grab by Alan Kolick. 12-8. DC trying to get back in it. 9:16 left in the third. And now I'm going to pull. DC still looking for that first break. Maybe going to ride the emotion from that amazing Alan Kolick grab. Now Cooper already at the 30. DC's defense slow to get down. Centering to Graham, over to Malachek. Malachek looks like he's going to send it, but he doesn't. Instead, he hammers it over the top to Marquette. Marquette to Pryal. Pryal to Cooper. Up to Graham. Back to Cooper. Probing here. There's Anderson. Oh, a little bobble from Anderson, but he's got Malachek unguarded in the end zone. That's a 13-8 Boston Whitecap lead here in the third. Here's Mike Miller with the pull. It's going to float up there. Going to be fielded by, looks like Moldenauer, unless it does stay in. Moldenauer fields it around the 30. Shorter pull than we're used to from Boston going that direction. McComb to Schaffner. Schaffner back to McComb. Over to Moldenauer. Modash with it now. Looking around, and there's Keegan. Keegan sends it from Schaffner. That one's going to be too far for Schaffner. No amazing play this time for DC. Just a turnover in the back of the end zone on that errant huck from Sean Keegan. Here's Mike Miller, going to bring it back in at the goal line for Boston.
Mike Miller taking his time after Martin can't chase down that Keegan puck.
Miller looking, faking. Underneath, it's going to be dropped by Casey Turp. Or I'm sorry, that's Eric Stevens with the drop. McComb slowly walking up to the disc. He's going to pick up. Oh, and nifty break to Schaffner over to Moldenhauer, finding Wodach. Oh, and now that's where the chain ends. Schaffner gets open and brings this one down for the goal. 13-9.
Got like 10 seconds.
Current still looking for their first break. This would be a good time for it.
Calvin on with the pull, and that's just going to float on down.
Malachek going to feel the pull from Ong. And over to Cooper. Cooper under to Anderson. Anderson looking around. He's got nobody, but he finds Pryle. Pryle a huge threat on this Boston offense. There's a nice throw to Malachek. A little reversal of roles there, and Malachek's going to put the disc up, and that is going to hang. And a greatest attempt. Oh, what a play! That is Josh Marquette leaping out the back of the end zone, throwing the disc back into Brian Zid. Wow. Here's the pull from Hirschberger again. Fielded by Moldenhauer. McComb has it now, and it's up to nice throw to Bellinger. Can he tiptoe the line? And no, he's going to be out. Couldn't keep that toe down. Nice throw to find him over there, but just not enough room for him. And Misha Horowitz going to bring this disc back in. Guarded by Dulaban. Nice throw out to space. That's Chris Waite with the disc. Back to Horowitz. Horowitz faking, pivoting, and finding the disc back to Waite. That's up to Doherty. Doherty sends it up for Heath. Chased by Wodach, and Matt Heath comes down with the disc in the end zone. Another break for Boston. Now the disc up. DC receiving. This is a short pull all the way out of bounds. Kolek going to take it.
And here we go. DC set to come back as Boston pulls out of bounds.
Boston just doing what they've done all season, at least for the last 5 weeks, that is, just rolling through teams. You know, they take control of this game, and you can't get breaks on them, and that kills you when they do get a break. Here's Schaffner to Ong. DC trying to stay alive in this game. Well, you got to think at some point conserve your energies and try to get a better result in a game that matters a little bit more than this one does at this point. Although point differential could be a huge factor in this Eastern Conference race, so you really can't take it too easy. And there's a drop by Kolek. Miller is going to walk around. He's going to pick it up, and he's probably going to look to send it, and he doesn't. Picks it up a little too early, most would think. And there's a nice sliding grab. And that's Terry Roth. Got nobody around him, all alone. Is he going to do it one more time? Oh, Mike Miller backflipping over to Terry Roth. Doesn't look like Terry's going to give us one right now, but Mike Miller providing the entertainment after that goal. Hirschberger's pull up again. Going to be fielded by Schaffner. Centered to McComb. No Alan Kolek on the field for this point for DC. McComb. Schaffner. Schaffner to Wodach. Wodach to Dulaban, and that's a little too high. Boston going to get the disc back again. And this looks like it's about to get ugly for DC. Horowitz putting the disc up for Hirschberger. Two DC current players chasing, but nobody's going to get there. Hirschberger in the back of the end zone. Another goal for Boston. Now up 17-9. 5:12 left in the third quarter. And the Washington DC Current took a timeout between those points. So they are down to one left in the game. Boston set to pull the disc back to them with a commanding 19-7 lead. Or 17-9, I'm sorry. 17-9 lead for the Boston Whitecaps. Mike Miller set to pull it back in. Bellinger pulling it down to Kolek. Over to Bellinger again. Bellinger, nice break up to Cranston, who's been quiet today. Cranston over to Bellinger. Now Ong. Ong's going to send it for Kolek. That's going to hang up. And Kolek with another fantastic grab. He had Taylor chasing, and he went up over him and grabbed the disc, hold it down. A little celebration from him there. This pull is going to be fielded by... It's like, yeah, nobody wants to take it, and now Cooper is going to walk up to it after it lands.
Alex Cooper taking
No other handlers back. Showing the confidence in Cooper to make a decision with no dump. And here's Graham getting it now. Graham over to Marquette, who made that greatest just a couple points ago. Finds Zid, who we found in the greatest. And now Zid up. Ooh, and Pryal knocks it to the ground. There's Neely to Marshall. Marshall to Todd. DC looking for their first break. Here's Neely. Neely going to hammer it up to Marshall and Gordon. And Gordon's going to bring it down for the first break of the game for DC. 17-11 Boston. 4:14 remaining in the third. Now Brian Marshall's pulling this disc back in. We're going to see if DC can get on a little run here. They're going to need a lot of work, but it's not over yet. Cooper fields the disc. Malachek. Marquette's going deep for him. Oh, and now he's coming back under. Called by Marquette. Marquette up. Oh, that's floating a little bit, but nobody realizes it in time. And Peter Pryal gets the disc and it drops back down. Finds Zid. Quickly over to Graham. Graham looks for Zid. Big fake. Now to Cooper. Cooper looking for a foul call, and he's going to get it. It's going to get him very close to the end zone.
Looks like a quick spot foul on Cranston.
And a nifty throw from Cooper to Peter Pryal, who's been very, very good today, aside from that drop. Calvin Ong going to field this pull.
DC back on offense.
Centers to Kolek. To Bellinger. Kolek storming up the line. Oh, he might be able to get there, and he does! What a grab by Kolek!
Balance up and moving.
Kolek to Wodach, back to Kolek. To Schaffner, and he's already going. Kolek owning this point right now. Centers to Keegan. Keegan over to Bellinger. To Keegan. Bellinger trying to pull a Kolek, and he's going to do it. Now Kolek coming off the front of the stack.
I don't think Boston has anyone who can stop Allen.
And there's Schaffner. Schaffner wants something, wants somebody, and he's going to find Kevin Moldenauer. Or no, that's Sean Keegan. I'm sorry. Sean Keegan in the end zone. 18-12 your score now. 2:57 remaining in the third quarter. And that last point absolutely dominated by Alan Kolek. Did not factor in the scoring
Are you guys ready?
throw or catch on that possession, but he did just about everything else. Oh, what a bid from Gordon. Not going to get there. Anderson brings it in. Zid with the disc, guarded by Chip Cobb. Finding Marquette underneath. And they're going to call... So they're either calling a travel or they're calling that Marquette was out. Officials are going to converge here and figure out what the call is and what the decision is.
Referees are consulting. There might be a travel call. There might be a turnover. There might be nothing.
We're going to get a receiver travel is the call. Marquette takes 10 steps back, guarded by Cranston.
Cranston ready to mark.
Cooper trying to get open, but Marquette turns it over, and here's Ryan Todd to pick up. Oh, wow. Interesting throw to Jonathan Neely, who's going to get fouled, take himself 10 yards. Neely looking upfield. He's looking dump. He's going to find Marshall. He's going to throw it right back to him. Neely putting it for Cobb. Cobb puts a disc up for Cranston. Cranston brings down his first goal of the day. 18-13. Minute 59 remaining in the third. And DC's pulling for one of the few times in this game that they've been able to, actually one of the 2 times in this game they've been able to get a break. And here's Malachek with the disc. Malachek sends it up for Marquette, who's running, and he's gonna not get there. Very close. Got a hand on it, but he wasn't able to bring it in. Came in at a tough angle. Very long run for him, and now Uong brings down a little difficult throw. 90 seconds left in the third quarter. DC with a chance to get another break. Keegan puts it over to Rico Johnson. Keegan to Eric Salmi. Minute and 21 remaining here. DC with a chance to get another break. Over to Johnson. Boston running a little zone, trying to slow the DC Current down. Oh, and now it's D'd up by, looks like, Zid. And now Malachek centers to Pryle.
1 minute remaining.
Pryle over to,
looking to strike again.
looks like it might be Cooper or Mount. I believe it's Graham, actually, who puts up to Pryle again now.
45 seconds.
Now Pryle finds Cooper in the end zone.
Hirschberger set the pull for Boston. DC has 42 seconds to make some magic.
42 seconds left. DC brings the disc down. Kolick.
Looks like Boston's coming down in their zone
McComb.
again.
Oh, McComb laces it out for Kolick, who brings it down. Cranston running for
30
the...
seconds remaining.
Wants a cut. Oh,
DC
got
with a nice
Wodach
set play
instead.
to break through it to begin.
Wodach up to Dulavan, who bobbles it and brings it in for the goal.
Game zone.
19-14, Boston. 25 seconds left in the third quarter. Whitecaps set to bring this pull down, leading by 5 late in the third.
Strike quickly. The disc comes in when it's picked up. The clock starts, sorry, when the disc is picked
Cooper
up.
picks it up. Cooper
And we
over
are
to
20
Pryle
seconds
on
remaining.
the 50-yard line. Pryle to Malachek, nice
Turkey,
break.
get there.
And Malachek puts it up for Anderson, and Anderson brings
And
it down
Boston
to
scores with
10 seconds remaining in the third. Whitecaps put up their 20th goal in just 3 quarters.
Burger with the pull.
Here is the pull. 10 seconds for the Current.
Looks like it's going to be LB.
Disc is going to float out of bounds. Schaffner's going to take it in the middle of the field.
Now the clock will start with the whistle. 10 seconds.
Keegan.
7.
Keegan finds Schaffner in the middle of the field.
5, 4,
Schaffner sends it up.
3,
He's got
2,
Wodach.
1.
And it's caught by Rico Johnson! As the clock expires, Wodach tips it up. Johnson brings it down, and that's a goal for the DC Current. 20-15 at the end of the third quarter. And we're here for the fourth quarter. 20-15 Whitecaps. DC receiving. Ong over to Kolick. DC looking to make headway in closing this gap. Try to make a nice comeback here. Here's Alan Kolick on the sideline. Up to Schaffner. Oh, Schaffner gets knocked out of bounds by, looks like that was Chris Waite. And Schaffner sends it up for Kolick. Beautiful throw. But I believe that's going to be a delay of game because Schaffner threw it before the referees whistled play back in. Beautiful throw, wasted by Schaffner. Schaffner might want to... Oh no, he's not going to try that same thing again. Centers to Ong. Ong over to Cranston. Cranston to Wodach. Wodach over to... Ooh, that's Bellinger. Oh, and Bellinger drops it. Bellinger looks like he's calling an injury. We see Bellinger walking off the field. And then now DC on defense here. Looks like Bellinger was replaced by Cantor. Miller has it over. He put it over to Hirschberger. Hirschberger back to Miller. Over to Taylor. Taylor sends it up. Oh, what a bid by Ong, but he's not there in time. That's Stevens bringing it down. Stevens sends it over. Now it's up to Jack Hatchett. Hatchett sends a floaty disc up in the way of Eric Stevens, but Ong and Cantor are there, and now Stevens is down on the ground. Ong sends it to Keegan, who finds Schaffner. Schaffner wants to put it deep, but nobody's going for him. There's McComb. McComb looking for a dump. He's got Kolek. Kolek back to McComb. Kolek going up the line. Got the disc. And Ong puts it up for Wodach. Oh, Wodach comes down with it over. I believe that is Zid. Now McComb with the disc. Oh, finds Kolek. Kolek in the back of the end zone for Wodach. DC closes the gap to 4, 20-15. Boston leads right now, 7:24 left in the fourth.
All right, DC. I don't know if you know.
Well, Boston trying to get their defense back on the field.
Hopefully he'll get us a birthday. Number 19.
DC trying to get another break. Here's Malachek up to Pryle. Pryle under to Brent Anderson. Anderson's going to send it deep. That's Graham. Two defenders closing. But Graham comes down with it on the goal line and flips it to the back of the end zone where Josh Marquette is waiting for it. Miller to send it back.
Mike Miller with the pull.
Kolek feeling it in the corner. To McComb. Keegan makes a nice little cut to get the disc back. Keegan swings it over to Kolek. Under to Moldenhauer. Moldenhauer to Wodach, and he can't come down with it. A foul is going to be called, and Wodach is going to receive possession of the disc.
Just to get Wodach before getting the deed.
Over to Moldenhauer. To Bellinger, who's able to field that one. Back to Kolek. Swings it over to McComb. And McComb to Keegan. And oh! Keegan had Moldenhauer, but he slid a little too far and wasn't able to get his footing back to throw the disc to Moldenhauer in the end zone. Now he's over to Kolek. Over to Keegan. Keegan with that little inside-out backhand break to find McComb in the end zone. 21-17 Boston. 6:07 remaining in the third. Here's the DC defense back on the field. Looking for a break. Malachek. Cooper with it now. Cooper puts it up to Marquette. We have a call here.
And it looks like Marquette picks Ryan Todd through about 7 players.
We're going to have a pick call. Disc is going to get sent back to Cooper.
This goes back to the thrower and a 10-yard penalty.
Cooper's going to take 10 yards back. And the disc is back in. There's Graham up to Zid. The way their offense moves is just really fun to watch sometimes, with just the fluidity and efficiency that they play. A 10-yard penalty. It was a pick call on the Whitecaps. Graham goes back 10 yards, and now he's looking upfield. Finds Marquette. Marquette sends it under, and a bid by Cranston, but Pryle brings the disc in to Zid. Zid sends it up. Anderson comes down with it, but we have a foul called. Zid's going to take 10 yards back, or Rather going to receive a 10-yard penalty. Cobb on the mark. Zid up to Malachek. Oh, Cantor trying to get another little point block on Malachek, but Malachek throws a hammer up to Marquette instead. Here's Marquette up to Pryle. Pryle, nice throw to Marquette. And now Marquette sends it up for Zid, and there's no one around him. That's another goal for the Boston Whitecaps. It's Kolek to field the pull. Up to Keegan. Keegan finds Schaffner. Schaffner wants to send it, but he's not going to. Wodach brings it in with one hand. Wodach dumps back to Kolek. Sending it over to Keegan. Keegan wants to put it up, and he does for Schaffner. Schaffner's going to go up, and he's going to bring it down. Nice grab by Markham Schaffner in the back of the end zone. Keeping the Current around. 22-18, 3:43 left in the game.
All right, Salmi set the pull.
Here's the pull from Eric Salmi. Heading towards the corner where Graham is going to let it go out of bounds, and Cooper's going to pick it up. Cooper bringing a disc to the center of the field. We see again no handler other than Cooper back for Boston. Malachek and Graham fronting the stack. Now it's Cooper under to Pryle. Pryle to Marquette. Now Marquette had Anderson streaking deep, but he didn't want to take the shot. Cooper. Alex Cooper on the sideline. Looking for something. Finds Pryle, who's been open all day. Hard to find an answer for a guy like Peter Pryle. Oh, what a D by Eric Salmi. Cooper wants a call, but Eric Salmi gets the D. Here's Neely. Neely breaks across the field to Salmi. Salmi to Todd. He's got Rico Johnson. Ryan Todd sends it up for Johnson. Pryle closing, but Johnson brings it down. Johnson to Cranston. Time ticking down. This would be big for DC, though. Todd. Looking around. We're going to call a foul on Boston. Todd's going to get 10 yards. 2:38 left in the game.
Urgency here, DC. Let's go.
Todd finds Salmi. That's a goal for the Current. Closing it to 3. 22-19 Boston. 2.5 minutes remaining in the game.
Here we go. Let's get loud. Here we go. Keep it with the ball.
And here's the pull from DC. Looking to start their run. Going to be fielded by Cooper. To Malachek. Malachek looking for something. Guarded by Schaffner. Sends it over to Taylor. Taylor puts it up for Cooper, who sends it to Pryle. Marshall almost gets there, but Pryle's able to bring it in. Pryle's looking around. Now a Scuba up. And Matt Gordon with the D. Picks the disc up back to Kolek. Kolek to Keegan. Keegan over to Kolek again. Kolek wants somebody. Somebody's got to make a move. Over to Keegan. Kolek streaking across the field. And Keegan throws it away. And that might be it for the DC Current.
Take their time here.
He had Kolek going across the field and just put it a little too far. Now Zid has the disc. Got to work fast if you're DC. You need to get that disc back really, really quickly. Now Graham. 90 seconds remaining. And Graham. Oh, DC's going to get a lucky break on the turn, and they're going to call a timeout. Very wisely, Keegan throws it up anyway, but that's not going to matter as the timeout was called well before the throw. Here's Kolek to bring the disc back in for DC. He's got his cutter set up downfield. Now Keegan with the disc. Can't be losing yards. You got to work fast if you're DC. Keegan up to, it's like Moldenhauer. Moldenhauer up in the end zone, and that's not going to get brought down. That was Tom Doy. I think it was... Oh, no, it was Salmi. Oh, no, boy. Ugh. Cannot quite tell who that was in the end zone. Moldenhauer tried to throw that disc to, but he did not connect. The throw was not close. Very difficult catch. And that's a timeout by Boston with 56 seconds left in the game. Now it's Marquette with the disc to bring it back in for Boston. All Boston has to do to move to 8-0 is take care of the disc, and that is an interesting throw when you're trying to take care of the disc. A huge Blady throw to, I believe that's Malachek. Malachek to Anderson. Under to Marquette. Marquette's looking. Well, looks like Marquette got fouled. He's going to get 10 yards. 38 seconds remaining here. Pryal with the disc on the sideline. DC still fighting hard out there, but this one is just about over. Boston going to move to 8-0 on the season, closing in on that undefeated regular season campaign. Getting ready for the playoffs, just trying to figure out who they're playing at this point. Now flipped over to Malachek. DC doing themselves a favor in the point differential category with this game today, as they've given Boston their tightest game since Boston was down here last. But they are not going to get a win today. And they are going to get another... Oh! Referee's ruling that up by Brent Anderson. Fantastic grab by Anderson. Didn't look like it was going to carry far enough, but Anderson sneaks his hand under there and gets the disc. 5 seconds remaining in the game. 23-19 Boston Whitecaps. Disc floating into Keegan here with 5 seconds left.
Here we go, 5 seconds.
He's just going to send it up into a crowd of everybody, but Keegan went deep on that. And it's going to be D'd by Boston and brought down, and that's going to finish the game out. Your final score here, 23-19 Boston Whitecaps. Boston moves to 8-0 on the season. DC, they didn't need this one. It would have helped, but you know their sights are set on something different. They've got the New York Rumble next week, and that game is going to determine a lot in terms of the final standings and who makes the playoffs in the Eastern Conference to face these Boston Whitecaps. From Silver Spring, Maryland, this is Greg Fallon signing off. Thanks for joining us today.